All right, it's cool time now. How many of you have been to a TED Talk or seen one on your computer? I was inspired by those early on, and earlier in the year when Secretary Batcher asked us to switch from an extended keynote presentation to these short education presentations, I was truly intrigued by that concept. So today we're going to continue that, and we've got 4 great presenters this morning that are going to be delivering truly out-of-the-box concepts for you to begin to incorporate in your operations and the way you do your job. We've allotted 10 to 12 minutes per presentation, so given today's cultural attention span, they're just about right. For those of you that I know have longer attention spans, hopefully it will at least tickle your creative side. At the end of the presentation, there are table signs on these tables up front, and the SEP presenters will come back to their tables. So if you have questions, feel free to join them at the table and take the 10 minutes that we normally use for transition between the keynote presentation or the general session and the education sessions to get your questions answered. Several of them actually have a booth either in the government showcase or in the solution center, so you can extend your conversation there. All right, without any further ado, let's get this show on the road, as it were. Miguel Gamino serves the City and County of San Francisco as its Chief Information Officer and the Executive Director of the Department of Technology. As the CIO of San Francisco, Mr. Gamino provides thought leadership and strategic direction for how San Francisco uses technology. He advises Mayor Edwin M. Lee, the Board of Supervisors, and city departments about how San Francisco can leverage technology to improve government services. Gamino leads the development and implementation of the Information and Communication Technology Plan for the City and County of San Francisco. As the Executive Director of the Department of Technology, he manages the department's daily operations. He is a Golden State Warriors fan, shock, shock, and loves the San Francisco Giants, and he also wants to remind you that it's an even year. Without any further ado, please welcome Director Gamino to the stage.
Thanks. Yeah. Am I on? So thank you for having me here today. This is a delight because I do a lot of speaking, but usually the group is either government folks or technology folks. So I'm usually translating one direction or the other. So the fact that I can just have an honest conversation is a delight. So I want to start by talking about who matters in all of this. And so for us, we've been really focused on making sure that we keep front and center the idea that at the end of the day, it's not technology for technology's sake, as was previously mentioned. But truthfully, it's not even government for government's sake. At the end of the day, it's all about serving the people of our community. In San Francisco, we're really focused on the fact that we're embracing a diverse community with a large kind of complex set of challenges and needs and desires. And I often also say that our customers don't have the luxury of easy choice. Right? We're not the Coke machine next to the Pepsi machine, and if you deliver a bad product, people can just quickly choose something different. So we have to deal with that reality, the reality that we have to serve that constituency the way they want us to, even when that want changes over time. What I think is important for us as civic technologists is that technology is the answer in a lot of ways. It gives us the ability to be agile and to keep up with those customer expectations. And so, too often, what's experienced by our customers is what you see on the left, right? People sitting in a room or sitting in line And what we want to do is get them online. We want to use technology to bring the solution to them when and where they need it. And I often tell people that technology, digital service, I'll talk about in a second, is not about bringing civic service more conveniently to people who have iPhones. The truth is, it's our best opportunity to serve the people that need our service the most. And what I mean by that is that the people that really stand to benefit, the money that our taxpayers trust with us and build these programs has some specific intentions, and often those intentions reside with people who have the least flexibility to access it. And what I mean by that is that you can imagine a story of a single mom who is entitled to, qualifies for a really important program with the city that the taxpayers are funding. But she probably has a part-time job, or at least an hourly job, maybe two. She depends on public transit. She's got a kid in school, maybe a kid in daycare. And so what we tell her is, we want to help you. We want to give you a hand up. But I'm going to make you take a day off of work, unpaid probably. I'm going to make you arrange for childcare. I'm going to make you navigate public transit to come down to City Hall. And you're going to come to City Hall because that's the big building in the middle of the city with a big dome, kind of the symbol of government. And so it's intuitive that that's where I would go to get that service. And so she's going to arrive and she's going to stand in line or sit in a room just like this. And heaven forbid she's in the wrong room or in the wrong line and spends a whole day just to find out she's in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so she's got to do this all over again, or not. And so this kind of important but complex implementation of technology is key to closing that gap. I argue that technology benefits the underserved in a much more dramatic way than it benefits those of us that do have iPhones and have connectivity in our pockets. So just for some context, San Francisco is a $9 billion organization with about 30,000 employees. Central IT department's about $100 million, but citywide we spend about 400. And citywide we've got about 1,000 employees in various kind of facets of technology. But all of that is, my job is to bring all of that to bear to deliver better government service in a distributed kind of organization with a lot of autonomy, a tremendously diverse set of mission and purpose, and we're trying to harness the power of technology to bring all of that to bear in a much more efficient and effective way. So what I've done is I've laid out these strategic kind of pillars, if you will. I'm going to talk about a couple of these that I think are really probably front and center to this group. But we're focused on the concept of technology. I just spoke at an IoT conference earlier this week, and I had to break it to those folks in the room that without the internet, we were just talking about things, and we already have all those things. And so a lot of this evolution, a lot of this digital disruption takes connectivity for granted, and I'm here to tell you that particularly at the local level, but also at the state level, that connectivity infrastructure is the weak point, it's the weak link right now. And it's our job. We uniquely own control over those rights of way and that infrastructure. And so in that makeup of public-private partnerships or just the different roles of technology, ours, front and center, is to be mindful of the infrastructure. We want to leverage that around this concept of digital service. What I was just describing is taking civic service and digitizing it and putting it in people's hands, or putting it where they need it, when they need it. All that's enabled by an internal focus on delivering technology as a service, even internally, in everything we do. Re-architecting the plumbing to be more responsive to our diverse departmental missions. And then I'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit, but tech talent is key, right? The people really make this work. And then as we become more connected and we become more digital, the threat vectors change. And so cybersecurity becomes even more paramount. Because as that person that's at home, depending on that digital service to get their housing entitlement or their house or apply for a program, as that becomes commonplace and the expectation, we have to make sure that that's secure and trustworthy so that people can depend on it. So in the area of connectivity, where we've started in San Francisco, is around public Wi-Fi. And when I talk about the connectivity conversation, I always talk about two horizons. I talk about the horizon that we have to present to people in the kind of current term, the near horizon, the horizon that taxpayers can understand what they're getting for that money today, right now. How are you changing my life tomorrow? But the people in this room, it's our obligation to think about delivering that in a way that is very cognizant of the deep horizon. Don't build it to solve for today. Build it for tomorrow in a way that can also solve for today. And so our first step was public Wi-Fi, because people understand that. People know what that means to them, but we're constructing it in a way that lends to the Internet of Things I'll talk about in a minute, and other connectivity applications. So we launched public Wi-Fi on Market Street, 33 parks, libraries, and some other public spaces. And when I was having these conversations with the government, half of the crowd, they would say, Miguel, is this a field of dreams? Are you building something just to see if they'll come? And I said, hold that thought. And we measured. And data brings truth. These numbers that are up here on this slide are for 1 month, the month of January, in a very limited kind of proportion of our geography, just Market Street and 33 parks, we hosted over 9 million sessions on our Wi-Fi network. And people say, yeah, sure, but they're just casual connections. Their phone's in their pocket and they connect, they didn't even know it. Well, maybe, but they stayed connected for almost 11 minutes, and I transported 30 terabytes of data for those people. I've almost put that argument to bed. Almost, because there will always be 10%. But what it's done is it's allowed us to accelerate this conversation. If those of you that are kind of paying attention to news in San Francisco, it wasn't that long ago that we were on the bottom fold, but we were on the cover of the Chronicle talking about broadband for everybody in San Francisco. I don't know about you, but that was like a moment when we became mainstream. And we're talking about connectivity the way connectivity deserves to be talked about. I argue that connectivity is an infrastructure play. I often compare it to the Ubers and the Airbnbs. And these folks are generation changers. Connectivity is a civilization changer on the level of electric grids and aqueduct and the sort and road systems. So the way that this matters, or the way that this manifests, is in this ability to deliver digital applications everywhere, where people can consume it when and where they need it. And we're thinking about this thing. Some of my startup buddies have impressed upon me to think about things in terms of X's, not percentages. Make a 2X impact, not a 50% increase. And so we launched our business portal in San Francisco and we measured it. And we have experienced 13X in our consumption, our business registrations in San Francisco. And the key to this was that it was user-centered. We talked with the users first about what it was that would make it easier for them, and we just built that. And lo and behold, it's been very successful. So the next era of things we think is the Internet of Things, the concept of the Internet of Things, where all these things kind of come together. The concept of connectivity, digital service, and mass data. And so we launched a citywide Internet of Things network very recently, engaged the private sector and some hackers to develop some solutions to use cases we presented, and now we're pushing that forward in collaboration with the private sector. Internally, we're transforming digital service. We're launching something called the Digital Service Lab, or the DT Service Lab, which is Think Genius Bar for inside the government. The idea here is that we're changing the way we're talking with our customers so that they can change the way they talk with theirs. And I mentioned something here that at the end of it all, Too often, technology becomes analogous with machines. People think that dark room with the blinking lights and all the magic happens. And I have to remind them that people built those machines, and people are required to innovate those machines, and people are required to make sure that those machines are actually useful in delivering service. And so we're transforming the way that we recruit tech talent, and the way we retain it, the way we engage those people. I just met with our unions yesterday, and I'm told that no one ever stays past 12:30, and we were there till 1 o'clock. Just talking about changing that conversation about what it means to be a civic technologist in San Francisco and how that impacts our community. I tell people, I want to be an employer of choice. I want graduates from Stanford and MIT and Berkeley, etc., on their short list when they're saying, oh, I want to go get a job at Google and Facebook and the city and county of San Francisco. And some people roll their eyes, and those people can keep rolling their eyes. Meanwhile, we're going to keep making change, pressing forward, delivering service to the citizens that matter. Those are the people that are paying our bills. And as they find us valuable, so will our own kind of concept of the worth that we're delivering to the community. So that's what I believe to be the mission of civic technology. That's what we're doing in San Francisco. That's why things matter to us. And we've been successful at getting our leadership, the mayor's office, and the other elected officials thinking about technology as our business, not just part of the business. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share the story.